All right, welcome to the NFL Hour, episode 4. This is the first time that I'm taking this show live. I said, you know what? Instead of recording it and then just putting it out on the stream, let's try it live. So this is the NFL Hour, episode 4. Man, I have my boy Parlay Pete here, and we're gonna talk. Some Atlanta Falcons football. But first, we're gonna hit some of the hot topics going on in football. So today, Deshaun Watson officially requested his trade. What you thinking about that? Where do you think he should go? Do you think he should try to work it out in Houston? What are your thoughts?
Well, the way it seems to me, and obviously neither of us are on the inside, but it seems like for the most part, he's in a position to where it's kind of like that relationship is dead. It's not a thing anymore. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that they already knew that ahead of time before making the hire that they did yesterday. And in some cases, it could even be a little bit more insulting that they hired. I'm sure that the Texans wanted to hire the best candidate. But the fact that it is a black coach, in reality, it's like, did you guys really do this to give me a Scooby snack or something? Like, you know what I mean? What are you trying to appease me? Like, was this something that you heard or reported, like that I needed to have a black coach or something like that in order to even be happy? So I think that it's a fractured relationship that is not going to be repaired. He signed the contract, and of course everybody's going to point to, well, you signed a contract, like you need to honor it, right? But Deshaun Watson's trying to be innovative in a sense of he wants to try and make the NFL like the NBA, where guys can pretty much, force their way out if they really, really want to. And all he had to do was look at his next door neighbor, James Harden, right? They're both in Houston. Both pretty much didn't have a say-so on who the coach was going to be. Personnel moves from before that were made. And I think that he's pretty much headed down that path of, I'm going to try and make this thing a players league. And one thing to even note, too, with his contract is that he has a no-trade clause. So it gives him even more leverage to make the trade and say, oh, well, now that you have found a trade partner, I don't want to go there. I don't approve. So it gives him so much control to the point of where I think that he knows he can kind of force his way out regardless of even trying to make up. He doesn't want to make up.
Yeah, I agree. And for those who say, yeah, he signed the contract, well, there really was no other alternative other than being underpaid or being franchise tagged. And it's the NFL, so you don't want to constantly bet on yourself, especially if you're him who's torn 2 ACLs. And
right,
I listened to Undisputed today, and Shannon was doing a little bit of reporting, close source to Lamar. So apparently Lamar and David Culley hit it off, and he make him want to come back. But then also Deshaun Shannon Sharp reported this, that Deshaun was saying he's willing to let it get ugly. So, I mean, I guess he's taking the words out of James Harden's mouth, and it's like, hey, the sooner you get me out of here, the better it gets. And the fact that his teammates have his back is what lets you know that, prayers for David Culley, man, for getting a job that's not going to work out for him.
And he effectively kind of knew that going into it. I know that there was no way they had these discussions of, so how do you plan on having this offense look with Deshaun in it? That was not the conversation. I know that wasn't the conversation. It was hey, you've never been an NFL coach. You're 65 years old. This team is in dysfunction right now. And that's just the reality of it. Hell, J.J. Watt don't want to fucking be there either. And so, I know that they're sitting there talking to this man, and he's kind of like, look, there's only 32 of these jobs in the world. I get to be one after I'm a lifer in the NFL, and I get to be one. Kind of similar to, and in terms of an old man that's a lifer getting a job, like Brian Snicker. Shout outs to the Braves. When he got the job with the Braves, you know what I mean? This is a dude that's been working in AAA and was developmental essentially the whole way there. I'm sure that maybe he was a part of a staff once before, but he got the opportunity and he did make the most of it. And for what it's worth, the Braves weren't dysfunctional, but they were certainly in a rebuild mode when he took over, when they fired Freddie Gonzalez. And so that's the only way that he can kind of look at it. Like, do I have an eye for talent? Do I think that the organization is willing to do everything they can for me to win? And the reality is this, and I think you said this earlier in our group chat, basically they could be grooming him for Josh McCown, or maybe I just heard that somewhere, but they could be grooming this dude really for Josh McCown to be the head coach. Because the moment that report came out that Josh McCown was being considered to be the head coach, I think people just started losing it, because it's just like, we got all these minority coaching candidates, people that have done the time, that are qualified, and you guys are about to give this job to this dude that's a journeyman quarterback, his career, to be the head of your franchise.
So I think, though, a lot of the premier minority candidates didn't want that job. Once Deshaun was like, yeah, I want to be out, I can't see any of them wanting to take that job, because that if that first job doesn't work out well for you, it's a good chance you don't get another job. And with the status, with them not having a draft pick in the first round already, and then Deshaun Watson wanting to be out, and the hope is that, you move Deshaun before the draft.
Right.
But because Nick Casario and Jack Easterby may say, you know what, we can make this work, we can make it happen. And then you move him post-draft and you don't get nearly as much as you could get for him. So I just think the smart people like your Leslie Frazier's, your Eric Bieniemys of the world, once that Deshaun Watson stuff came up, it's like, yeah, nah, I don't really want this job anymore.
Right, ill. Ill.
Like, I think that Bieniemy requested a Zoom call with Deshaun Watson along with one of his interviews.
Did he?
I heard that somewhere, but don't quote me on it. But what do you think, Deshaun? Where would you like to see Deshaun end up?
If we're going to be biased about it, I mean, certainly if the Falcons think that they're going to move on from Matt Ryan in any type of capacity, the reality of it is this: why not bring him here? I mean, I would mortgage that 4th pick and I'd trade Matt Ryan to get him, if some sort of a way that deal could work out. That's the type of deal that I would want to do, because technically, yeah, the Texans just aren't good. You know what I mean? And they fucked up already as a whole. Ideally, I'd like to see him here, but that's the biasness of me as a Falcons fan and him being from here, being from Georgia. And so that's my bias pick. But if I'm talking about fit and need base, San Francisco would be the best place for him to go, without a doubt. It gets him out of the AFC, and I know Houston wouldn't want to deal with the team, preferably outside of the conference, I would imagine.
I hate that. Like, don't want to trade him in the conference because you might have to go through him to get to the championship.
Yeah.
Unless they're in your division, it's really not that serious because it's only one game. And guess what? If you want to win a championship, you're going to have to possibly see him on the other side. So I just think it's a dumb way of thinking.
Well, and I agree. I mean, it definitely – if I'm the Texans, I'm trying to get the most I can for them. Point blank, period. If that means the Colts are giving me more than anyone – then goddamn it, we just got to play them twice a year. I mean, so have you heard Skip Bayless's trade that he thinks should happen? Who did he think?
He thinks that the Jacksonville should try to trade the number 1 pick straight up.
Well, and maybe that wouldn't necessarily be the worst deal, because you're basically saying guaranteed product versus unproven potential talent. And,
right.
I guess the weird connection is that they're both the last 2 Clemson. Well, I guess Kelly Bryant would be in the middle.
Yeah, sure.
That's like Blake Sims a little bit, but we won't even get into him too much.
Come on, man. You can't be throwing shade on.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
Hold down, man.
Guys are bridge quarterbacks, just like they're making the new Texans coach a bridge coach. But we'll see what happens. But is that a terrible take? I guess the question is that just a straight up trade, Deshaun Watson for the 1 pick? Like, or
if I'm both sides, I'm asking for something a little bit more, because what I'm going to say is, if I'm Houston, look, yeah, Trevor Lawrence is a great prospect. He's the most heralded prospect since Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, whatever. But Deshaun Watson is a proven top 5 quarterback in the league. Like, right. We know what he is. And
this guy will keep you in games.
Exactly.
Even with that bad roster, he will keep you in the game.
So I think there's a back and forth that could happen, but if they went straight up, I wouldn't be upset with it if I were on either side. But you got to believe that Urban's going to want to bring in his guy to start brand new, fresh, and all of that stuff. But, we'll see. Where do you think he actually ends up at, though?
And so that's another tough question. In reality, we really just don't know. But the thought is, who's got the ammo, and picks, and can offer up, attractive players that are star quality in the NFL to Houston, because obviously they don't have their first or their second round pick this year, so they gotta recoup on picks.
I think Miami has the best package for him.
But Tua's got to go in the deal, and if the Texans aren't hot on Tua.
If you got the third pick, you can still flip to him.
Yeah, but then where does he go? And so it
becomes frozen.
It's a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind. I think Miami definitely, that would be a super attractive place because they've got 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, and Deshaun even said though he's not trying. And this is Shannon Sharp reporting. He's not trying to do a Carmelo type deal where you're trading the house for him. And so he's going from one bad team that he doesn't like to a bad team that he does like. He wants to be on a competitive team.
Right. And so, but then and they're the only team already that's, they're the only good team picking in the top 10 in terms of record, at least from last year. And so, it's at the end of the day, when you're that good of a player, that there's going to be players coming out in order for you to go there. And so Miami would definitely be the most attractive from we have this, that, the other, and then lifestyle. He can live on South Beach. And he gets to keep that state income tax money. You know what I mean? Swapping from Texas to Florida. There's a lot of pluses in the move like that. Brian Flores is the coach.
He's to Atlanta, so he can get him a QC chain.
Right. He's not too far from home. So it just, that would probably be a pretty ideal landing spot for him. But like I said, I think the best fit, if he wants to maximize his talent and win, and there's no way they can give up too much. It'll be San Francisco, bro. He plays with Kyle Shanahan, who is proven. Look, he made Jimmy G go to the Super